Yo, guys, so I actually found somebody that popped up on my tree as a slave owner, okay? And it, first had me worried at first. It didn't have hardly any information at first about him. Nothing at all, really. No dates, no deaths, no date of birth, no nothing. So I Googled the name, and let me show you what I found. The first thing I saw was this, and I really kind of ignored and skimmed through some things and didn't see some important stuff. But I started seeing this, and I was like, oh man, I was trying to match up this lady, Mary Ballard, with this so called Tillman guy. And they're saying that they had a child together. They actually say that she had multiple children by him. I'll show you. This right here really wasn't a document, but it was somebody's family tree, and it showed all these all these children with somebody named slave owner Tillman. And I was like, man, why would he have, some people would try to say, ooh, breeding farm, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I knew it was something different than that. So I found where they talk about his will, and it shows him giving away his slaves. So, it starts to make the point that, okay, he really was a slave owner. But then I noticed these sources. You have a census here, a census there. And so I clicked on one of them, the 1850 census link. And so then it came up to this, and I was like, whoa, that's the Tillman dude. Paul Willis was his actual name. There's Alabama. That's where it said that she was from. And it shows a slave owner, okay? So I was still like, oh man, were we slaves? But when you actually click on the document in 1850 and go to the slave owner names, there he is, Paul Willis. You see, Paul Willis Tillman, son. That's the name of the slave owner. But look what happens when you scroll over here. What color does it say the slave owner is? That's a big old B right there. He is a black slave owner, guys, and I'm gonna prove it to you another way. But in all of his so-called slaves that they counted were black, or at least the people that he had that were black on his plantation were black. It doesn't mean he was a slave driver. These were his workers, okay? But let me show you what I missed when I came here. I had jumped down here and was looking at these, but notice what I missed when I looked above. Black heritage. Wow. Alabama. He was a real black slave owner. And over here on his wiki tree that someone created for him, it talks about Mary Harper, him being married to Mary in Tallapoosa, Alabama. And he was married to Elizabeth before, and when you go back, Mary on my line shows that she was living in Alabama. And it shows that on her actual census. There's Mary and a daughter and a son. And when you come over here, Alabama, right? Also, big B's for black, represent. So back to here, again, Mr. Paul Willis, the so-called slave schedules from Ancestry, he was a black slave owner who owned a lot of slaves that he employed. Now that was the 1850 census. Let me show you that 10 years prior to that census. Now look at the difference, because they changed up. They did the census this way before, and then they didn't do it in 1850. After this, they don't have these free white persons, but look who it says was under his plantation. Free white person under 20, another so-called free white person under 5, another so-called free white person between that age. Okay, you got slave men. Those would be all your so-called blacks, because they wanted to label everybody as a black as a slave. And then you have more free white persons under him. Okay, they call him free white person, but he had white people that he had working for him, as well as black people. That's what that says. And you can actually go here, and this will actually show you. I'll pull his name up actually over here for you. Mr. William, where you at? There you go, Paul Willis Jr. or Senior, whatever. And then when you come over here, you see that slash mark right there? That is under males, free white persons. Free white person males. He had a slash mark down there. And these are the age ranges. So he had those, okay? He had white people that he owned as well. This whole slavery thing would really meant worker. Same thing with them as well. So don't get discouraged if you think you may have found somebody in your tree that's a slave owner. Google their name. Look up more information. Look for the census records and look for the race of that person, because quite frankly, they could just be listed as a slave owner, but technically they're a black slave owner. And I'm gonna change the name because you can actually do that on here. So that way, if anybody ever actually pulls him up, they'll know. I'll just type in Negro lineage. And I'll save that. So now when people open this up, it won't scare them off top. Oh, Negro lineage slave owner Tillman. Yes, don't scare people no more, okay? This is what I do to try to help people out. So yeah, man, even when I look for slaves, I'm not finding people that were real actual slaves. He was married to her and they had him as a child. They listed him as a slave, even though that was his child. And then that goes into here, and they married in with some Indians and stuff. So yeah, man, check your tree. Quit playing.